What's up, everybody? Joe White here. Sitting here for the night in Virginia, getting ready to drive down to Atlanta. Ugh. Kennesaw, Georgia. Not as bad. Still got to drive through Chattanooga. Chattanooga's getting just as bad as Atlanta, especially since they redid the interstate. I'm not going to go into that. Anyway, I wanted to do this video because Sportskeeda Wrestling has released a rise. It's happening! It's happening! Oh man, Edwards AC, I hope you're listening to this and I hope you go watch it because there's a lot of good and a lot of bad in it. What am I talking about? Sportskeeda released a rise and fall of AEW Dynamite video that is about 30 minutes long, and there's a lot of stuff they got right and there's a lot of stuff they failed to mention and got wrong. Oh man, I can't believe we got a rise and fall of AEW Dynamite before we got a proper rise and fall of TNA video. Not that you need one. Everybody knows what happened with TNA. But they do mention a lot of stuff here, and I wanna give some praise and I want to give some criticism to this. Um, it 13 minutes into a 30-minute video, so about halfway through, before they even mention Vince McMahon. They mentioned that fans wanted an alternative. They mentioned that AEW exists because Tony Khan wanted to give the fans an alternative to WWE. Let me be clear here, folks. They didn't just want an alternative to WWE. Um, they wanted an alternative to Vince McMahon's booking and Vince McMahon's way of storytelling. The constant starting and stopping of things, the constant, but then Vince got ousted by his own petard, and things make more sense than usual. I'm not saying that they make sense all the time in WWE, but more often than not, they do. Um, so that's my first problem with this documentary. At least 13 minutes in, before Vince McMahon's name is even mentioned. Um, they go into the Cody Rhodes jumping ship bit, and they just basically say that, oh, his contract is up and he wanted to go to WWE. They do not mention at all the infighting between Cody Rhodes and the rest of the EVPs. They don't mention it at all. They also don't mention the fact that Cody Rhodes, per stipulation that he's wanted to do, Cody Rhodes is never allowed to become AEW champion like he should have been. Now, and the same way with the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks weren't tag champions right off the bat either, even though the entire promotion is predicated around, the elite. Um, the Young Bucks thing, okay, good. But I don't even remember who were the first AEW tag team champions. Let me look that up here. Let me look that up. Hang on, guys. All right, it was can't believe I had to look this up. SoCal Uncensored. Frankie Kazarian and Scorpio Sky were the first tag team champions on October 19th, or October 30th, 2019. Um, Dynamite, Charleston, West Virginia, 83 days as champion, and then it was um, January 21st, 2020. So October, so less than 3 months. It went to Omega and Adam Page. Um, so they mention, they don't mention anything really of the Young Bucks and Cody not wanting to put themselves over, and how it kind of may have snake bit them in the end. They also don't mention they mention they do not mention a lot of ex WWE guys who've come over. They do at the beginning. with Jericho and Moxley pretty much. No mention of FTR. No mention of Edge coming in. They do mention CM Punk a lot. Um, so there is that. No mention of Kenny Omega's world title run, which I found instrumental in keeping that company afloat and alive as far as public interest goes for as long as it did. I said it before and I'll say it again. I like when Kenny Omega is serious. I don't like the did I do that and all this mess. But I did enjoy his title run. Speaking of his title run, they don't make any mention of the failed TNA relationship or the stuff with New Japan and New Japan's a little bit more healthier than the TNA one because there is no TNA one, but no mention of the fact that Omega went over to TNA and there were several TNA guys who came over to AEW. And along with that, they don't mention Tony Khan's boring, useless, underwhelming announcements that have gone on for the last 3 or 4 years. And the boring promos he did with Shivani during Dynamite, during Impact, during that whole era. Um, no mention of Tony Khan's social awkwardness. They do mention a little bit about his booking being kind of haywire, but they don't mention the fact that um, he's just a very socially awkward person. Also, they don't make mention, and I'm kind of glad they don't because it's alleged. They don't make mention of the cocaine problem. Yes, for those who don't know, it has been hinted at that during the COVID era, when they would have to rent out an entire floor of a hotel room to talent, there were wild cocaine parties being hosted by Tony Khan. Nobody's eyes naturally pop out of their head like that. I'm sorry, it just doesn't happen. Um, no mention. They do a good job of mentioning the fact that Tony Khan's online presence has been getting more and more awkward as of late. So good mention there. No mention of Vince McMahon being forced out and this being the pivotal thing that caused WWE to get better. They don't mention the one factor that has led to this quote unquote war turning around. And AEW barely able to do 650,000 views in a week. Um, let me see here. What else do they talk about? They did a good mention of AEW storylines not making sense. And they do a good example with the MJF Adam Cole storyline. Just, abruptly coming to the partnership, abruptly coming into a halt. And then the very next time you see them, the roles are reversed where Cole is the, heel and MJF is the baby face. Now it's MJF is the heel and Cole is the baby face. It's just, even the guy narrating the video says he was confused by it. They don't make any mention of sponsors and how the bank addicted drug robber, as Cornette calls him, slicing somebody's head open with a pizza cutter. And the very next thing you see is an ad for Domino's Pizza. They don't make mention to the fact of, oh, we're cursing because we can. We're saying the word shit and ass and everything else just because we can. They don't make mention of the fact that they need to run smaller buildings. That the crowd sizes, not just the audience, the audience watching at home, they don't make mention to the fact that the crowd audience is dwindled down to where they can barely draw 3,000 per show and a building set up for 15 to 20,000 people. Um, they also make mention of Coney Ton. There he is, Coney Ton. Tony Khan storyline where he got beat up by the elite, and it's just not going nowhere. We even tried to get Christopher Daniels in there to be an authority figure. And it just goes nowhere. The only thing he does is push people backstage going, "What the hell are you doing? What the hell was that?" Um, they also make mention of the fact that John Moxley's heel turn against Bryan Danielson has gone nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. Um, they mention the TV deal, but they don't mention the fact that, yes, essentially it's 3 years with a 2-year option, but they don't make mention of the fact of Warner Brothers Discovery can take a look at this and go, what the heck did we do? We need to get out of this as quick as possible. And they can still cancel the television. AEW is a TV company, despite what Meltzer says when he mentions AEW house shows. There are no house shows for AEW. They do mention the COVID era, but they don't mention the wrestlers speaking out, the movement, and how that cost them. They don't mention the fact that they cannot hire or that they got rid of a Jimmy Havoc, and that they Kylie Ray's issue put a real bad taste in the mouth of the women's division in the locker room right off the bat. They don't make mention to any of this. I would have. I would have extended this thing to an hour at least with all the stuff that they left out. They do make mention of like Cody Rhodes, Jade Cargill, um, oh god, the 10-10-10 guy, Sean Spears. Um, so Cody Rhodes, Sean Spears, Jade Cargill. They don't mention Brian Pillman Jr. They don't mention All Ego Ethan Page. That's 5 right there. Let's see. Cody, Jade, Pillman, Spears. Let's see. I got to do this again. Hold on. Cody, Spears, Jade, Pillman, and Page. They don't mention any, like they mention Cody, but and Jade, but other than that, really nobody. They do mention the fact that the audience have soured on Tony Khan for the whole way he's handled the Penta and Phoenix fiasco. I look at it this way with the Penta and Phoenix thing. What difference does it make if Phoenix debuts now or a year from now? This isn't the old days where, people would forget about you. The number one thing that a wrestler says when they make a return is, gee, I wonder if they'll remember me. Guys, yes, they remember you. Because they're on Twitter at least once a week asking when you're going to return. So it ain't like the old days at all. So how is he hurting anybody or anything by immediately jumping now as opposed to a year from now? Hell, if anything, you're playing right into their hands because a year from now, or a year and a half, whatever the case may be, when Phoenix's contract is up and he's ready to move in, guess what's going to happen? One of two things. Either Pentagon, Sierra Miedo, whatever he's going by this week, is going to be a heel, and Phoenix is going to run in to help him, and bam, you got the Lucha Brothers reunited, the fans are popping, or Penta is going to be in trouble, and Phoenix is going to come in to make the save, or he's going to need like a mystery partner, or something's going to happen there. It's a smart way to do it, and it doesn't really, whether it happens now or a year from now, it's not going to hurt AEW at all. They talk about them streaming on Max, and yes, more people will watch in the short term. More people will be on AEW on the radar for AEW in the short term, meaning that you may get about 1 million people watching you between TBS and Max, but as soon as the new people watching on Max realize what a shit show you are, they're going to go right back to WWE, or they may never even try anything with wrestling ever again. And you need to make sure that the website and the services and everything, the servers, can actually handle the traffic. This is what worries me with WWE going to Netflix. But that was basically it. Overall, a pretty decent little quote unquote documentary, but I spent 15 minutes now talking about a 30-minute documentary and everything they got right and everything they got wrong. But we will see it down the road.